Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be my review for the pilot of Girl Meets World, and I was really looking forward to this pilot. I was really hoping it would be fantastic, and I'm going to tell you why. Boy Meets World is my favorite 90s show. I actually randomly found Boy Meets World. I was looking through Amazon one day, and I saw Boy Meets World Season 1. So, I got Season 1, then I got Season 2, Season 3, Season 4, Season 5, Season 6, and so on. I got the whole show, and after watching the whole show, I just said to myself, Boy Meets World is my favorite 90s show. It is a show where if it is on TV, I will watch it, but the thing is, I wasn't even around, I wasn't even born when the show was actually on TV, so I discovered it after that, and because of that, you know, I was still really looking forward to the show. I'm a huge fan of the show. It's probably one of my top 5 favorite shows, even. I love it that much. So when I heard about Girl Meets World, I said, that's kind of interesting. I wonder how they're going to do it. Then, when I was a little skeptical of how they were going to do it at first, but then when I heard that Ben Savage and Daniel Fishel were both coming back as Corey and Topanga, I was like, that's perfect. Then I heard, you know, what the show was going to be about. I'm like, okay. Then I saw the preview. I'm like, sold. This has to be amazing. And it turns out, yes, Girl Meets World is amazing. It really was everything I hoped it would be. It had everything I wanted with the show, and it essentially is basically just you can't even say it's the same show. You can't even say it's a separate show. It's basically a sequel to Boy Meets World. That's basically what it is, and you know what? I think that's fantastic because that's what I think the show should be. It's just a sequel to Boy Meets World, and that's exactly what it is. So basically, let me explain what the plot of the show is. This show focuses on Corey and Topanga's daughter, Riley Matthews, who right away when I saw her, I'm like, she sounds just like Corey and Topanga, how Topanga sounds. It's like perfect. If I would have pictured, you know, if I were to picture Corey and Topanga's daughter, this is exactly what I would have pictured. You know, she has dark hair. She is basically the same age as Corey when he started Boy Meets World. Yeah. She has this very rebellious friend, Maya, she's very rebellious. I mean, the first scene we see, she's trying to get them to sneak out of Riley's bedroom and ride into the subway. But then we see Corey and Topanga, and they end up stopping them, so that doesn't work. They do end up going on the subway, though, and basically, by the way, the first episode was called Girl Meets Boy. I forgot to say that. But basically, when they go on the subway, they end up meeting Lucas Fryer, who this is basically going to be Riley's crush on the show and the boy that Riley likes. He is going to be Riley's Topanga, because you know instead of 2 boys, it's two girls. So basically, he's going to be the Topanga of the show. Basically, even though Topanga is on the show, he's going to represent Topanga, and that's one of the things I love about the show is that all the characters really do represent who they're trying to base them off of, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but we also see, what then happens is, basically, Maya tries to get Riley to flirt with this guy. She's like, you know, don't be so shy around this guy, and basically she tries to flirt with this guy and everything. By the way, I love the woman on the subway. I don't know who she is, but that woman that they encounter on the subway, hilarious. I don't know who she was, but I'll talk about that I'll talk about acting in a second, but basically, they are then late for history class, and we find out that their teacher is actually Corey. Corey is Riley's teacher. And I thought it was really funny because in the beginning, you know, you have that whole thing where Riley's saying, this teacher is insane, a total nut job, you know, all that stuff, and it turns out that her teacher is actually Corey. I thought that was kind of funny. We see that right away, you know, they are late for class, and Corey does blame it on Maya. It seems at first that Corey and Maya don't really have a good relationship. All he knows is that Maya is his daughter's best friend, and that they're really good friends, but he clearly does not have a very good relationship, like, class-wise, with Maya. He always, she's always, like, the troublemaker in the class. We see that right away. She's very much of a troublemaker. And basically, in this episode, Maya is trying to get Riley to think like her. Now, when Riley hears to think like Maya, she takes it a little too seriously. She really does. Basically, you know, they're trying to figure out, when they're late for class, we then see the character of Farkle. Farkle, basically, he is Minkus's, if you don't remember Minkus, he was, the nerdy boy in Season 1. You know, he was that character that always hung around Corey and Sean, thought he was their friend, they always picked on him, and, you know, they picked on him a lot, they did all that stuff, and he always thought that they were, you know, he always thought they were his friends. They always picked on him. He even had a big, huge crush on Topanga. I mean, Minkus was always a great character. I loved his character. But Farkle, it's a lot like that with Girl Meets World, because Farkle doesn't have just a crush on, you know, Riley. He has a crush on both Maya and Riley, and he's basically trying to flirt with them as much as he can. So, I find it very funny, but just like Minkus, he has a very big, you know, relationship. He has a very good, relationship, class-wise, with, Corey. And you know what? I really like that, because that's basically what Minkus had with Mr. Feeny in Girl Meets World. Basically, Corey is trying to follow Mr. Feeny's footsteps, trying to be the teacher that Mr. Feeny was, and the classroom actually is very similar to Mr. Feeny's history classroom. Of course, Corey teaches history because that's what Mr. Feeny taught, and I find that very interesting, and he focuses... I think it's because Mr. Feeny basically changed his world. I think that's basically what it is. So then what happens after that is, you know, we have a very funny scene with Farkle. By the way, Farkle is hilarious. I find him very funny. We then see Lucas, walk in, and this is where we find out that he is coming into class, and he is basically going to, be a exchange student from Texas. He's from Texas, and, he's transferred to their school. So, I mean, that's cool, but you can see that, Corey is very protective of Riley, and I'll talk about that in a second. But then what ends up happening is, you know, she goes back to, Corey and Topanga. She starts to think, like, you know, she goes back home to them, and basically, well, after this, well, before that happens, they're talking about the homework that they were supposed to do. And, basically, they start talking and everything, and, you know, Corey says, "Why are you sticking up for Maya?" And he says, "Look, I know you are Maya's friend, but you and Maya are two different people. Maya is very rebellious." And Riley gives a really good line. She's like, "Well, I mean, I never had good parents anyway." And I mean, I think that, you know, Riley does have pretty good parents, but I think what she's trying to say is that she's not, you know, she doesn't really, I honestly don't know what she was thinking there. But then we see her brother, Augie, Augie is a 5 or 6 year old brother. He's very witty, very, very funny, has a lot of really good lines, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more of his brother. Augie is the Morgan of the show. We don't have Eric on the show. We will have Eric back eventually, but Augie is Morgan. If you remember, Morgan was the sassy sister of Corey, always had the great lines, always was very cute in the first few seasons. Then when she got older, she became very sassy. She liked to, you know, basically get her way, and I think that's really great that they did that with Augie, because he reminds me a lot of what Morgan was on Boy Meets World. It really does. So that's great. The next day, though, Riley goes back to class, and here's where the episode actually got pretty serious. And you know what? I like this about the show. I like that the show actually got kind of serious here. Basically, we find out that Maya has not done her homework. Riley lies to Corey and said she didn't either. You know, she actually did do her homework because Riley's a pretty good student. But it turns out she didn't do her homework. So, you know, she lies and said she didn't do her homework. So Maya then decides to start a homework rebellion, and she, you know, they just start doing this chant, homework rebellion. I don't remember what the chant was exactly, but this is very similar to Sean as well. I think, if I remember correctly, there's an episode in Season 2 of Boy Meets World, I don't remember what it's called, but there's an episode where Sean and Corey actually start a homework protest. I believe there was an episode about that, and this is very similar to that. And basically, I think Corey kind of sees that Maya's a lot like Sean, and he doesn't want he doesn't want Riley to be like how he was with Sean. Even though him and, you know, Sean have a great relationship, Sean really did get Corey to do a lot of really bad shit in the first few seasons. You have to admit that. What ends up happening, though, is Riley joins Maya in this chant, and then what happens is Maya goes way too far, because she ends up setting a she sets a paper on. She is trying to set the homework on fire. She puts this fire up to the water, and the water just starts raining. So Maya gets detention. So obviously she got detention. And then here's where it actually got pretty dramatic. Which as I said, I like that it did get dramatic, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But basically, they go back, and we see, they go to their they're near their lockers, and Corey decides to talk to them. And basically, Riley says how she wanted to stick by her girl, as she said, because that's what she says. And basically, Corey said, well, if you want to stick by her, it means just to stick by her, not become her. That's not what it means. And I thought that was actually really great that he said that. Then he talks to Maya, and he says that, he says, for the longest time, I know it's always been Riley and Maya. However, you went too far this time. And he says, why are you going so far? What's the problem? What's wrong with you? And basically, she says to Corey, I don't have parents at home to help me with my homework. And this is where we feel really bad for her, because we see that just like Sean, and I love the parallels in the show. I love the parallels. It's one of the best parts of the entire show. And, the other parallel is that she actually has a very bad family life. We find that out right here, is that Maya has a very bad family life, and it's just really sad because she has a really bad family life, and Corey feels bad for her at this point. He really does feel bad, and basically that's what he does. He just feels really bad for her. So Corey then talks to Riley, and Riley and Maya at this point. It seems like Corey doesn't want Riley to hang out with Maya anymore. But Riley and Maya then go on a subway, and Riley actually talks to Maya and says, I understand what's going on. And Maya tries to stop her friendship with Riley, and you know what? I love this one scene. I really felt bad for Maya. Maya says, you're a better student than me, you're better at everything than me, you should not hang out with me, all I do is make you do rebellious things, why do you continue to hang out with me? And basically, Riley then says that because you're my friend, and they decide to stay friends, of course. So they go over to Corey, and Corey's actually very happy. He says as long as, Riley becomes her own person, then she will be fine with that. And, I think it's going to be a very big thing of the show, is Riley trying to not be like Maya. That's what the whole episode was about. It was about her not trying to be Maya. I think the show should not have been called. I think this episode should not have been called Girl Meets Boy, because it had nothing really to do with that, except for a little. It had a little bit of stuff to do with that, but it mainly had to do with Riley and Maya's friendship, which I do like, and I think that's really great. But basically, what then happens is that they go to a subway where Corey talks about, to Riley, and he says a really great line to Riley. I love this line. I loved this line. It was probably my favorite part it was one of my favorite parts of the episode by far. He says, I already understand the world, and now it's your turn. And I'm just like, yes! Because if you remember, the whole point of Boy Meets World was for Corey to understand the world, and Mr. Feeny said something like that to him. So Corey said that to his daughter, and, that's why the show is called Girl Meets World, because Riley still needs to, figure out some stuff about the world. She has a lot of learning to do, just like Corey did in Boy Meets World. Riley has a lot of learning to do. So they go off to a subway, and then they go off somewhere. We don't know where they went, but they decide to go out, and they come back, and basically Corey then says to Corey then pictures Mr. Feeny, and Mr. Feeny is a ghost, and he says, well done, Mr. Matthews. Does this mean that Mr. Feeny is dead? I'm kind of thinking that's what they want us to think, that Mr. Feeny's dead, and we're never going to see a cameo from him because he's dead. But honestly, do you really think they'd kill off Mr. Feeny? I want to know if that's true. In the comments, let me know. That's one of the questions I will ask, even though I don't have any questions about the show to ask. Do you think that Mr. Feeny is dead? I'm thinking he might be dead. I don't know. That we'll have to see. So yeah, the pilot was fantastic. That was the pilot. I loved it so much. I thought it was a perfect pilot, and I loved it. Let's get to the acting. The acting in the show is very, very strong. I think that's great. And one of the other things I forgot to say is that they have the same director as Boy Meets World, which is great. And did I mention the show's on Disney Channel? If you guys know me, you know I hate Disney Channel. I despise some of the shows they have on there. I Didn't Do It, Liv and Maddie. Oh my god, there are only 2 good shows on there. Austin and Ally and Dog with a Blog. Girl Meets World. Because of Girl Meets World, let me just say something. when Girl Meets World, this pilot went online, because it hasn't actually premiered on Disney Channel yet, it just is online, you can watch it online, Disney has changed their logo to something else, and I think it's actually a very good logo, and what I noticed is that their logo is more or less like their old logo, so I'm wondering if Disney Channel is trying to get back to their old logo and their old stick, because they're realizing their shows are shit. That's what they're realizing. They're realizing Girl Meets World is a show that a lot of 90s people are going to watch. We have to get back to that. They want to get back to quality shows, and I think that's great if they continue to do that. So I'm very happy about that. I love that it's still produced by Michael Jacobs. You know, he knows what he's doing, and that's great because he did all 7 seasons of Boy Meets World, so he knows what he is doing, and I think that's fantastic. So let's get to the acting. First off, you have Rowan Blanchard as Riley, who I thought she was great. As I said, she sounds just like Corey. She sounds just like Topanga. If you have a scene with her and Topanga, they sound exactly the same. She sounds like a young Topanga from season 1, and I think that's great. And I really did enjoy her character. You know, she's not annoying. She actually is just a very innocent girl. She's a good student, and I like that about her character. I like that, you know, I definitely did enjoy her character. I thought she definitely did a great job. Ben Savage, of course, great. I love him as Corey. I think he's just fantastic as Corey. You can definitely tell that, I feel like with this role, he just got right back into it. It doesn't feel like he's been away from this character for years. I feel like, you really did feel like he has been playing this character, even after Boy Meets World ended. Even after Boy Meets World ended, he continued to play this character, and he continued to do a great job with it, and he continues to do a great job on Girl Meets World. I really like that they gave Corey still a lot of stuff to do, because Corey was the main focus in Boy Meets World, so obviously they have to give him a lot of stuff to do. The real highlight of the show, though, is Sabrina Carpenter as Maya. Holy shit, this girl is amazing. What else has this girl done? I know I've seen her before. I can't think of what else she's done. What else has she done? She did an episode of Austin and Ally. She did Phineas and Ferb. She did the Goodwin Games. She did an episode of Orange is the New Black, which I've seen, but not too much experience from this girl, but I will say that she is, a lot of experience from this girl, not that many big roles, but this girl is amazing. She really is the best on the show because, one, she's a lot like Sean in that she has that really bad family life, she's very rebellious. Anytime that she was rebellious, it was a really amazing scene. Anytime that we saw her being very rebellious, I thought that was great. She's very, she's a very, she has a very can-do attitude, she doesn't really care what she does, and I really love her character. Great acting from her, especially that scene where she's telling Riley, don't be friends with me. That was just, that scene actually almost, that scene was great. I will say, that scene almost made me cry. I thought she did a great job with that scene, actually, and that was probably one of my favorite scenes of the episode, just because of her acting, and if she continues to do as amazing as she did in this episode, she's going to be the highlight of the show. She might even get an Emmy Award for the show, because I could see her definitely getting an Emmy Award, because she's amazing on this show. She really is amazing, and people on Boy Meets World did get Emmy Awards. Ben Savage got one, Ryder Strong got one, a lot of people got one, and I'm really looking forward to, to see more of her acting. Peyton Mayer as Lucas, I think he was good. One of the things I do like about his character is, as I said, you can see that Corey is very protective of his daughter. That is a normal thing for any dad to do with their daughter, so I thought it was definitely really funny that Corey's very protective of Riley. It definitely was really fun to see. Then you have Augie, who, as I said, he is very, very funny, very much like Morgan on Boy Meets World, really, really good. My only complaint about the pilot was we did not see a lot of Topanga. A lot of people have been complaining about this, that we didn't see a lot of Topanga, and I think the reason was just because she did not have enough, there wasn't enough for her to do in this episode. She's in about 3 scenes, so I think that's good overall. We didn't really get to see her, in the law firm, because that's the whole reason why they moved to New York. At the end of Boy Meets World, if you remember, she got that job as a lawyer, and that's why they moved to New York, so I was expecting to see a little bit more of her, but you know what, I was fine with that. I just hope we see more of Topanga, because one, Danielle Fishel, even though she's in her 30s, she still is extremely attractive. I will say that right now. I don't care. Danielle Fishel is attractive. Topanga was attractive on Boy Meets World. I always thought she was really attractive. I always thought she was really hot in Boy Meets World. And she's, she's still hot in Girl Meets World. So that's one reason. 2, she's very, she's a very big character on Boy Meets World. She was the 3rd main lead on Boy Meets World was Corey, Sean, Topanga. So we need to see a little bit more of Topanga on the show. I would like that. Also, the kid that played Farkle, really funny. Corey Fogelmanis, he was really funny as well. Couple of things I do want to say, though. We just actually found out something interesting about Girl Meets World. Remember Joshua, Corey's little brother on the show? He is actually coming back on the show, and he's going to be on the show now, and he's going to be a teenager. So, that's Corey's younger brother, Riley's uncle. So, it's going to be interesting to see his character on the show. I'm looking forward to that. Angela and Sean will be back, and the great thing is Angela and Sean are going to be married, which is great, because they really, in the 7th season, I will say they did not do a good job of closing out that storyline in the 7th season, so I'm glad that they did get Angela and Sean back together, but but when they do that episode, I will say one thing, we do need to see backstory from them in that episode. We need to see that. So, Angela and Sean, I'm glad they're coming back. Stuart Minkus will be back, of course, because his son's on the show, so they have to bring him back. That's going to be funny to see. Apparently, Mr. Feeny will be back, but I'm thinking he is dead, and it's going to be, in cameo appearances to Corey, because he was in ghost form in the end of the episode, so that's why I'm thinking he's dead. And also, Corey's parents are going to be back, which is great. It's going to be great to see them back as well. I'm looking forward to seeing them back. But overall, as I said, I love this pilot. I thought it was a fantastic pilot. I really did love everything about it. I'm really looking forward to it. Don't know if Eric is coming back. That's the only one we don't know if he's coming back, but I'm thinking Eric will be back eventually. But as I said, this is probably going to be the show that changes Disney Channel. It's going to make them more mature, because if you remember on Boy Meets World, they weren't afraid to talk about things like sex and drinking and drugs and things like that. They talked about those issues on the show, and they talked about those topics. So, if they talk about that on Girl Meets World, that's going to be great, because it's really going to change Disney Channel. It's going to make a much more likable network, and I will start watching Disney Channel again. I'm going to say right now, I don't care that this show doesn't have a recurring storyline. Boy Meets World means so much to me, and Girl Meets World was everything I hoped it would be. My only concern is that, now that it's premiered, the next episode's not until July 11th, so I'm looking forward to seeing the next episode, but, but it's not till July 11th, but I still love this premiere. I thought it was a fantastic premiere. I'm sorry this review was out early. Sorry if I spoiled stuff for you. But I'm just going to say, I had to review it now because I was just really, really excited to watch it, and it was everything I hoped it would be. Alright, that's it for my review of the first episode of Girl Meets World. Let me know what you guys saw of this episode. Is Mr. Feeny dead? That's what I want to know, because it said special guest star William Daniels as George Feeny. Do you think that he is dead? What else is Riley going to learn about the show? What's this guy going to do in her life? What's going to be Lucas and Riley? What kind of relationship are they going to have? Is Maya going to push Riley to do more rebellious things? I'm sure she will. Maya's a very rebellious character. Are we going to see more of Maya's personal life? I really hope we do. I hope we see, just like in Boy Meets World, we see Maya's parents. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Will Topanga have more stuff to do on the show? I really hope so. I really am hoping that she does more on the show, because Topanga is a very big, essential part of Boy Meets World. You can't have her without having Corey. Also, I also forgot to say, I love the theme song to the show. It's the only theme song on Disney Channel that doesn't give me a headache. Most of the theme songs on Disney Channel, I'm just like, oh my god, they're so bad. This theme song is actually really, really catchy. It's sung by the two girls, Sabrina Carpenter and Roan Blanchard, and actually they can sing. It's not like they can't sing on this show. Most of the people on these, shows can't sing for the life of them, and they can actually really sing. So I think that's great that they can actually sing. But this pilot was amazing. Let me know what you guys thought of it. That's my review. Hope you enjoyed it, and my next review will be for the new episode of Orphan Black. So I will see you guys for that. Bye.